welcome back. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And here we have the lovely Kiah, who is graduating from Harvard Law School this semester to tell us a little bit about the application process. So could you just explain a little bit about the law school application process? Like what do you need for the application?
The main things that you need are to take the LSAT, which is an admissions test that shouldn't exist, but it still exists. An admissions test for law school. I think some law schools also accept the GRE as well, which is a different type of admissions test. But you take an admissions test, and then you also have to submit a personal statement, which is basically, why do you want to go to law school? Some schools ask for an optional diversity statement, which everybody's a little bit unclear on what that means, but it's a way to talk about the diverse experiences you've had in your life. It's usually optional. And then you have to submit your undergraduate transcripts and your resume, and also get letters of recommendation. So that's like a 20,000-foot overview of what is the process. And usually the applications open in around September. So you can start, if you are really like on top of it, which I was not when I was applying, you can get your application ready over the summer and submit it right when everything opens. I did not do that. And it worked out fine. Lots of people might pressure you to do that. You don't have to do that. But it's possible if you want to. And so for me, I had a lot of help. I was in a program called Trials, and it's a partnership between Harvard Law School, NYU Law School, and they basically help underrepresented minorities learn how to take the LSAT, learn about the law school application process. And so that program really helped me. And I encourage everybody to apply for it. Do not count yourself out. Just send in an application because it's a really helpful program and it's free for underrepresented minorities.
Interesting. Okay, and how long is the program?
It's just one summer, so maybe like 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks.
Okay, that's great. I'll put a link to that in the description. And yeah, do you have any other advice about the personal statement? Just adding on to the diversity statement, I think it's just a great way to just talk more about yourself. If there's like an aspect that you didn't really get to cover on your personal statement, like you can really just use it to show any unique perspective you might bring to campus and some experiences that will like contribute to the law school community. But from your experience, do you have any other like things like I know a lot of people are like, how do I start? Like, where do I begin? Do you have any other stuff?
Yeah, I would say I think the personal statement is a great opportunity. I'm going to sound a little woo-woo here, but stay with me. I think it's a great opportunity to really center yourself and think about, why am I applying for law school? Like, really, why? Like, what are the experiences in my life that led me here, and what do I want to do with a degree, with a Juris Doctorate, with a JD, after I graduate? I think a lot of people apply to law school kind of because they're like, oh, I need to do something like respectable, and so they kind of just like apply for law school. And I think the personal statement is a great time to really think critically about, what are you doing, things that you really care about, things that really motivate you, and not to try and write like, what would Harvard want me to say, because I can guarantee you, after being at Harvard for 3 years, they admit lots of different kinds of people with lots of different ideologies, lots of different backgrounds. And so don't try to like put yourself in whatever box you think Harvard wants, because I think in my experience, Harvard wants like a diverse class, not just diverse in terms of race, but in terms of like life experience. So that's part one. And then for the diversity statement, I totally agree with what you were saying, which is it's just another opportunity to talk about yourself. And so for my diversity statement, I wrote about being from Kansas. I wrote about being a Black person from Kansas, like, and being in both the racial and ideological minority most of my life, but learning how to work with people who are different from me. And so there's lots of different ways that you can write a diversity statement and just talk more about yourself. We all like that, we're millennials, Gen Zs, like talk about yourself.
Except when it's an interview and it's like, tell me about yourself, and I just completely blank.
And just get right, your mind just like wipes clean. Like, what am I supposed to say?
And as far as like recommendation letters, do you have any tips or anything? And yeah.
Yeah, I my recommendation letters, this might sound kind of obvious, but it's not as obvious as you might think. I think a lot of people try to get rec letters from people who they're like, oh, who would it look good that I had a rec letter from? And so they might choose a person, a professor, a person in a powerful position that maybe they don't know so well, but they're like, oh, but if I have this person with this title as my recommender, then that will look good, to Harvard. And maybe it does. I don't really know. I'm not in the admissions office, but I would recommend choosing recommenders who are really close to you, who you have a really good relationship, who you really care about and they really care about you, because they're probably the most suited to actually talk about who you are and what you add than kind of like a little bit of a random powerful person that you want just like for the title. So my recommenders were people who I had known since I was a child. And so they knew me really well and were able to really write about my character and what I care about. And they've seen like the growth and the trajectory. So that's what I would recommend for recommendation letters. Yeah.
Awesome. And wait, so as a child, you mean like professors or like
I had two of my recommenders were like my principals from one recommender was somebody from my church. One was one of my elementary school principals who I just like really connected with and have still talked to my entire life and still talk to now. And she's coming to my graduation party. And then I did have a professor write a recommendation letter. So she didn't know me since I was a child, but she was like my favorite professor. I was in her office every day for 4 years. So she really got to know me. So I would say choose people who you really love and you've really gotten to know.
awesome, yeah. And then just adding on to that, also someone who like you like can speak to how you interact with other people.
Yes.
Like the one part of your application where someone else is talking about you, and it kind of gives you an insight into like what you're gonna be like in a classroom, like what you're gonna be like on campus, which is again why you want to choose someone that knows you really well because they can provide like lots of details and things rather than just like, hey, you were great. It's like
Right. Like, oh, she got an A in my class. Like, right. You want somebody who can really talk about how you interact with others. Yes.
yeah. Okay, and do you have any other general advice about applying or things you would want to say to someone who's thinking about applying?
Yes, I would say just do not count yourself out. Do not count yourself out. I think a lot of people go on Harvard's website and they're like, oh, like this is the median LSAT score and this is like the median GPA and like blah, blah, blah. And I don't have that, so I'm just like not going to apply. And I don't think you should do that. I think even if you're not quite at the, like, you should study hard for the LSAT and try to get good grades. But even if you're not quite at what the website says, still apply. Because to be very cheesy about it, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So don't count yourself out. You never know what the admissions team is looking for. You never know what hole you might fill in the class. And so don't count yourself out, gas yourself up and apply. Please just apply. Don't count yourself out.